The U.S. Commerce Secretary says he's launching this investigation this week because Chinese steel now makes up 26% of the U.S. market, and he says that's unfair to American steel producers. So the President of the United States, Donald Trump, signing a memo earlier asking the Commerce Department to speed up its investigation so that it's completed well ahead of the 9-month deadline. If it finds that Chinese imported steel compromises national security, the U.S. could impose tariffs. The rationale for the move: basically, Donald Trump wants to increase defense spending, and he wants to make sure American steel builds that military hardware and those new tanks. But of course, with about half of the world's steel production taking place in China, this decision really puts a lot of pressure on Trump's new relationship with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Of course, they had lengthy exchanges in Mar-a-Lago just a couple of weeks back at the estate there in Florida. And remember, just last weekend, Trump tweeted that despite a campaign promise to do so, he will not label China a currency manipulator. In large part, he says, because Beijing and Washington are working very closely together to resolve the nuclear issue on the Korean Peninsula. So while Trump's Commerce Secretary says this action is directed at China, the president actually says the opposite. Listen.
This has nothing to do with China. This has to do with worldwide, what's happening. The dumping problem is a worldwide problem.
And you heard the U.S. president use the term dumping there. What that means is that foreign sellers are undercutting domestic prices even at a loss. And it's something that the United States has repeatedly accused China of doing, especially when it comes to steel. Now, for its part, Beijing has been doing a lot to try to curb its capacity of steel. As we mentioned earlier, it does have about half of the world's global capacity of steel. But last month, Beijing actually announced that it's going to cut an additional 50 million tons of capacity. It has also promised that over the next 5 years, it's going to slow steel production. So there is a commitment on the part of Beijing to really reckon with this. We also know that Beijing has said that its subsidies in the steel sector adhere to WTO rules, and that overcapacity is not just a problem in China, it's a problem globally. Jessica Stone, CGTN, Washington.